David, what's up, man? How are you? How's it going?
Good. Good, brother. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing great. How about you? How are things going?
Man, it's been great. Obviously the heat. We're in Utah, so the heat's coming back. It's been kind of a hot day, but other than that, yeah, man, it's getting ready for hunting season coming up, and getting bikes in stock, ready for the season, and it's
That's
been good.
awesome. Where are you guys located in Utah?
We're in Ogden, so
Ogden.
just yeah,
Yep,
maybe
just north of Salt Lake, right?
yeah, about 45
Yeah.
minutes north.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm really stoked to be connecting with you today and, diving into a little bit more about, your background and about how you started Bakcou and kind of where you guys are at as a brand. But before we get started, on the background of the brand, like tell me about you. Tell me about your past and kind of what led you here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, it's been a great journey. I'm pushing 50 this year. I never thought at 42 I would, well, probably 45 is when I kind of switched total directions from, I was an excavating contractor. I had my own company since I was 19, licensed contractor, and started hunting back in when I was 17, 18 years old, and we would go up and mountain bike, but we would walk logging roads. And the next year I told my brother that he got me into hunting and the hunting space, and I said, man, I'm going to bring my mountain bike up here and ride the roads instead of walking them. And but it was, even though it was fairly flat and rolly, it was still a lot of work to ride in when you're you know
With all your
10 to
gear.
20 degrees in gear. It's cold, then you stop, and then you're sweating, and so it didn't really work that well. So growing up in northern Utah all my life, came from a family of six. My dad was a school teacher, but then special force, retired colonel from the Marines, but then a third grade teacher 30 years of his life.
Wow.
So he's got a really soft heart, but a tough, outer shell in a way. But always pushed me to do whatever, believe what I could do. Nothing could get in my way. And so doing that and hunting just was my passion. There for a few years, I decided in the winters I decided in the summers to work a lot harder to try to take off some of the winter months, because in Utah we get tons of snow and frozen ground and ice that it just isn't feasible to try to be out, pushing dirt and rocks and stuff like
I
that.
can
So
imagine construction in the winter in Utah is not a fun thing. Yeah.
no, no, it's feast or famine type
Yeah.
time, and so that was a great move for me to really start setting aside some winter time to recoup, get ready for the spring rush. Push a little harder to put some money aside to be able to take those times off, and but kind of started building a little nest egg to where when I got one year we hunted up in Idaho back in 2016. There was some roads that they had just cut through, and we were walking them. And I think just after that season, I seen some ad for electric bike of some sort, and I'm like, man, that's what I need to hunt on. So I kind of that winter kind of dived right into it. Started, I was avid cyclist and outdoors, and ride a lot, so I knew a lot about bikes and a lot about things, and so I really started kind of I was starting to look at them to find one for me to hunt on. And at the time, the technology quite wasn't there for the off-road, heavy duty stuff. And so I built a few bikes for myself. Thought, man, maybe I could sell a few of these, build like a small company to kind of write my hunting off as a tax deduction
Yeah.
company. And kind of built the whole, registered it, built kind of, it's called Backcountry e-bikes at first. Got the website going, built some stuff, and hunted a lot with my brother-in-law. And so I said, hey, you want to partner with me on this, and we can, sell a few bikes. We can ride our hunting off. We were hunting together a lot, and he was like, yeah, man, this looks cool. He's like, I don't have a lot of time, but I could help out and do some things. And I think once we literally just decided to start kind of ordering, I jumped on a plane, went over to overseas to one of the biggest bike shows, found a good manufacturing partner, found the motors, found a lot of the components, and kind of built the chemistry of our bike. Because that's kind of what in the bike world I always say is bikes are a chemistry of what someone can create from other company parts, right? Because even some of the specialized felt, they use, Shimano and SRAM and a lot of different components from other companies. They design the frame and then they spec what components they want on
Plug
it.
everything together. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then those components is for that use, right? You're a trials runner, you're a long distance rider, you're a gravel rider, you're a mountain biker. You're going to want different components for that. And so, 2017, we kind of kicked it off and, bought 30 bikes, all we could afford to manufacture. And he's a neurophysiologist, so he's a doctor specialist. So he was in clinics. I was out excavating, and really at the first it was going to be a tax write-off, little company that we would write our hunting off and sell a few bikes. And once we got into the hunting space, we loved the community. Our bike was the best bike out there, and so it just took off. And within the first 3 years, we moved from basically my garage to a 2,000 square foot warehouse to a 5,000 square foot warehouse to now our 38,000 square foot warehouse, that we warehouse all of our material and growing, selling, distributors in Canada and down in, we sell all over the world. A lot of around the world is to police and military type things, but in the U.S. we really focus on the outdoor kind of hunting. It's a hunting tool, but really we're kind of that heavy duty off-road SUV bike that can handle the off-roads, handle
Extra gear.
extra gear, pulling heavy trailers, riders that are, pushing 350 pounds with their pack and gear and, meat and different things coming out. And, but, I look at us as kind of the Range Rover of e-bikes, right? That high-end, nice e-bike could do anything, but, they're just nice to drive, the kids to school and go get groceries if you really wanted to, because you want to be on that nice long-lasting bike.
That's awesome. So tell me, like, what year was the official year that you guys started this?
2017 we started.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And when did you more or less like migrate full time into this?
About 2019, the spring of that time, we had 2 employees, and I was, we pretty much kind of was full-time into it from the start, I should say, but it was a second job for me and Brian. And
It wasn't your main income, but it was like, it was a driver, right?
Yeah.
You guys had real employees, real space, real customers, but not 100% relying on it yet. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and we actually, neither one of us took any paychecks or any payroll for about 4 years, just because we didn't really have to, and so we were reinvesting in the company to build a foundation. We bootstrapped Bakcou from the beginning, basically, buy 30 bikes and then sell them, buy 90 bikes, sell them, buy 300 bikes, and or build, rebuild another plot of them. And so it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years where we decided to start taking a paycheck. And I think that, if someone can do that, building a brand or building a company, if you can reinvest back into the company to kind of get the foundation growing before spending the money, is key to keep a longevity going. We've been in this now 8 years, and we've got a real good solid foundation behind us because of that, and that was like really the key of our foundation.
That's awesome. And I'm curious, how how do you guys sell most? Is it more direct consumer with distribution partners and local bike shops or hunting shops? Like how what's the model look like for actual sales?
Yeah, when we first launched, I was trying to push the D2C concept only. In the hunting space, there's a big brand called Kuiu that came out. One of the owners from Sitka broke off and started
That's
it,
good. Yeah.
yeah, and did it just direct consumer. And so I thought, they were kind of pushing the envelope and kind of ruffling feathers with that concept. And I thought I'm going to try to do that too. You know, as we got into it, the dealers that were selling the other hunting bike brands loved our bikes so much, and they were begging to sell them. And we're like, well, all right, yeah, we'll sell to you. So we've balanced and we've done a good job, kind of 50-50. So basically 50% e-com just off our website, expos that we go to, and 50% to dealers, and we've grown from just mom and pop shops, now shills, some, big, the big box stores that have support, and bike shops, and techie people in there. We probably won't see us in Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, places like that. We've talked to a lot of the employees and team members of those stores, and they've mentioned that some of the bikes don't do that well in there anyways, and then they really can't you have that customer support
Sure.
for the customers.
Absolutely. Tell me, like, obviously being in like a hard goods brand in 2025, never more challenging than ever before with with the tariff war and all the challenges with manufacturing overseas. What are some of the challenges that you guys have been going through over the last few months?
Absolutely. You know what? Again, I think someone that started a company in the last 8 years have been able to, pivot easier than some of the longer corporates, because it's been such an up and down. Through COVID, it was this crazy surge, and then the whole ripple effect after COVID of, you know, factories shutting down during it, and then we're selling out of product, reordering. Now the factories are way behind on inventory and product and parts, and you're getting on a 1.5-year wait list for derailleurs and chains, and so it was. We always were able to kind of, just learn as we went. I always say the more times we can fail, the quicker we'll win, because we learn from every failure that we do. And obviously, if you're not learning from your failures, they're not worth the failure itself. So I think the last 6 months, we've learned, well, coming out of COVID, we've learned to really have our POs much smaller, not 2 years out, bigger ones, more often, POs with our manufacturer and our suppliers. And now that they're caught up, but now playing with the tariffs, and obviously we were at 155% tariff. We kind of paused all shipments during that time. Luckily, we had inventory that could last us probably 7 or 8 months. We did sell out of a few models, but we were like, there's no way that we can navigate that tariff. Now that they're paused and down now to about 30-35%, we're bringing that inventory in, gonna resupply a lot of things. I do get, we understand the tariffs. I don't mind paying some tariff, because as much as I would love to open a bike manufacturing facility in the U.S. tomorrow, it's just not possible. Right?
That's a 5 to 8 year process and a lot of capital, to make happen. Have you heard of Guardian Bikes by any chance? They're a kids bike brand, and one of my good friends actually started the company when we were in college, like
really?
back in 2008. And they started as Sure Stop, which was a braking system. And along the way, they actually said, let's just make our own kids bikes, because we have such a great braking system for kids. It's essentially like an ABS brake system for kids bikes, so they're way safer. and he actually has been building out the first like real bike manufacturing facility in the States in Ohio. And it's been a big process to get that done. It's not, you need, you need a lot of capital. You need a lot of financial back. You know, it's like you need so many things in order to plan for that and actually make it a reality. It's not something that's going to happen in even 2 to 3 years. It's a 5, 8, 10 year forecast. And it's tough to plan where you're going to be as a business in 5 to 8 to 10 years, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, you could invest all that, but if you can't sell the end product, it doesn't do you any good. So
Absolutely.
I mean, over there, I mean, a lot of bike companies use contract with manufacturing facilities that can make a couple 100,000 bikes a year, where they might only bring, we bring 5 to 8,000 bikes a year. Our manufacturer makes 30 to 40,000 bikes a year for other companies around the world. But then they hire, find the frame factories. We design our own frames. Then they have a frame factory that has, all the jigs. They can make the molds. They can weld everything, and they're making frames for $80 to $90 a piece instead of, $500 a frame here, and making, 30 of them a day instead of 2 of them, with robot welders and, the technology. And, the thing that I've been to China a lot of times is China is a thriving country. The people there, as much as we have the entrepreneurs and the small business growth in the U.S., they've got the same thing there. It's amazing that a lot of the companies and people that we work with, the CEOs and the owners of them are, some of them are in college or in their 20s, and they start up these companies and do well. They're very smart. They go to college for English and business, and the government gives them, grants and business, great things to help, grow their economy. So definitely, I think with these tariff and the trade wars, I know that they're hurting probably worse than we are in a way of us having to pay the tariff, because most companies are not ordering to pay the tariff, and
The
so
volume.
nobody's ordering anything. So they're, and that if their government is definitely changing. Before I went there the first time, my perception and in my head was the communist country, and it really strict, and the people do definitely respect the authority over there, which is amazing. Great, low crime, beautiful cities. Everybody has jobs, people work, and it just thrives. It really is a thriving.
It is pretty capitalistic when you think about it. I mean, it's just like, still communist with the government ruling, but if they didn't have that capitalistic entrepreneurial mindset that we and the rest of the world help fuel, like,
Yeah,
they wouldn't have that. It's like a communist regime can't fuel that. It's like it's the people that have wanted to prosper and wanted to create more. And yeah, Paradigm, we hear it all. We work with quite a few brands in like the fishing, diving, spearfishing space, and they were on the same. It's like hard goods, low margin, like tariffs going up through the roof. They were like, we're just gonna have to buy what we can and pause until the tide turns.
yeah,
Because those industries, it's hard physical goods. It's like the hardest thing to manufacture. If you're in fashion, CPG, whatever it is, like, you can have a 70 to 75% margin, and
exactly.
you can ship overnight. You can ship on a plane,
Yeah.
but physical hard goods, lower margin. You gotta load everything onto a boat. You gotta wait time. And that'll segue me into the next question that I have for you, which is, building a business like this is a feat of its own, which congratulations to you and your partner on this. Like, you build an incredible brand.
Thank you.
What have you guys done financially to help keep up with growth? Have you guys take on any investors? Do you have a solid financial banking partner to help essentially convert cash in inventory here?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, I think the key definitely is how we bootstrapped it from the beginning. Being really dedicated to not taking any distributions or draws for the
Yeah.
first 3 or 4 years was a big key. We built up a large amount of inventory and turned it, and then built our own line of credit. We don't have any investments or no line of credit. There's been a few times through the surge of COVID and things to get inventory and put deposits down on big POs. And I think that it's called Waveflyer, that kind of
Yeah,
plugs
one
into
of the financing app plugs into Shopify. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's been great. I mean,
Yeah.
considering depending on how quick you can pay it off, either you can do they just take a percentage of your daily
Yeah.
profits and pay it back. So usually you can pay them back really good, and it's quick and easy. And yeah, and then that's been kind of a saving through a couple times. We've had to use Wayflyer to get mass orders over here, because bikes are not cheap in to get orders and then get them in. But the we've really focused on creating a brand, right? Lifestyle brand, and not a commodity. There's a lot of commodity e-bikes out there, and the e-bike space, if you know I think the bikes that will be around and the companies are the ones that can build the brand and build the tribe. We have a Bakcou tribe of all of our bike owners that they belong to something they ride, and groups and different things. And it's been great, and hearing stories, sharing the passion of how their e-bike can tackle their adventures or take them here, or had a successful hunt, or change life by commuting to work, and just riding around and enjoying getting out, instead of the traditional bikes are just a lot of work for people to get out on a ride, and then they don't want to go the next day because they're too sore. So
For sure.
but yeah, no, it's been we're at that growth point too, though, at this time, that we are trying to find a strategic partner in a way to kind of help that booming, exploring into bigger realms for some of our new products that we're been R&D in for a long time. We've got Bakcou Motos. We're developed 2 motorcycles
Nice.
that kind of right there with the Suron, or not the Suron, but like the Stark Barg and the Arctic Leopards, and our X22 and X24, and they're just taking off. Like, they keep selling out before we can get the next shipment in. So
Wow.
it's been good.
That's awesome. What an exciting time to be in this space. Like, to just see the you were in it early with e-bikes, I mean, to think about it, it was, just see where they've taken off over the last 3 years. I'm
Yeah.
down here in Newport Beach in Orange County, and, there's an e-bike around every corner now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little about like, as obviously you've built this brand that's so based, around a hunting bike brand, right? And I'm assuming that the culture around the brand is very much geared towards attracting a lot of talent that's interested in hunting and the sport of hunting, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Have you guys do anything as an organization that you either hunt together or do any backcountry trips like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, at first, we have close to 30 employees at our headquarters. We do everything here: our fulfillment, warehousing, shipping, all of our sales team, customer service. And so, when we got to about 15 employees, we realized that all of us loved outdoors and all of us loved to hunt. And so when hunting season came around, we were like, oh crap, all right, we're gonna have to start scheduling just so people are here in the office. We're not all gone in September, October. And so it's been fun to kind of diversify a little bit with our team, but still most of our culture here loves the outdoors. If it's not, it's fishing, or it's, just backpacking, or, just riding out, enjoying mountain biking. We love that. The hunting space is very big, but it's actually a very small community in a way. And so, getting to know so many great people and big names in the industry has been, amazing. A lot of times I have to kind of sit back and pinch myself, because eight, 9 years ago, I was sitting on the couch watching these hunting shows and looking at these guys go, man, that looks so cool. And I wish I could meet these guys. And, now I've been going on hunts with them and helping them change the way that they hunt. And now most of them are like, man, I can't, now I hate going hunting places that I can't take my bike or get around because they just save so much time and energy and can take so much gear in and out and things like that. So,
Wow,
and even
that's
just
awesome.
professional athletes and like Brad Marchand that just won the Stanley Cup's a good buddy of ours, and he runs Martian Mills hunting up in Canada, and guys like that, and Austin Riley of the Atlanta Braves, Dustin Lynch, the country singer. Getting to know these guys on a personal level and share hunting stories is just awesome, and to see these guys on them sharing their passions outside of their careers is fun. Really see them down to earth.
That's so cool. And I also think too, like going back to what a wild time to be like building like a product like Bakcou bikes for the hunting world, with where hunting and fishing is as sports in general, like with the amount of content that's now being created. I remember like trying to find hunting or fishing content, which I'm avid fan of. 10 years ago, you would maybe have a couple of shows with old guys that somehow got onto like cable TV, right? You're like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a local show with this one guy. He's got a couple of episodes, and now it's just wild to see how many creators there are in the hunting and fishing and outdoor space that are just cranking content
Yeah.
over and over and highlighting products. Do you guys work with any of those big creators?
We do. Yeah, we do work with a lot of the big ones. We are the biggest brand in the outdoor space in the e-bike. So
Yeah.
a lot of them come to us because of our reputation and who we are and what we stand for. We do a lot of, work with Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the Mule Deer Foundation, a lot of these foundations, Sports and Fish and Wildlife, and all their chapters. And so, we can do a lot of this stuff with their platforms are much bigger than ours, and so we do a lot of collaborations and working with them, using our product in their shows. But they also love, a lot of the times, before we do, a lot of them do it, just free, basically, because they love the bikes and the product. There's some big that you do have to reimburse them for, because that is their full-time job now. They can't pay their bills with riding a bike on their hunts. And we don't mind that, because they do reach a lot of people, and they do have a great presence, and people trust them with what they're using. And so 95% of the time, I would probably say 100% of the time, we'll send them bikes and say, enjoy them, use them. If you don't feel like it's a brand or a product that you can stand behind and really say, I really can use this product, then be honest with us and let us know. We don't want to just pay you to push a product. And they just are, kind of amazed by that, and they're like, yeah, no. And then they do, and then they're hooked, and they're, friends for life, basically. Like, I would imagine majority of the biggest, television hunting series or influencers, they're part of Bakcou's tribe, our pro tribe athletes. So it's been awesome.
That's so cool. And you talk about like a great product that lets these creators like go create more, because
Exactly.
hunting, you're limited unless you're on horseback or you've got a some other vehicle to get somewhere. You're limited by how far you can walk in a day.
Exactly.
How much land you can cover. And a lot of these guys too, like, they're making content to kill something, right? So if they go on a 4 or 5 day hunt, they're not able to track enough ground. It doesn't make for very good content. But if they can cover triple the amount of,
Yeah.
quadruple the amount of, space in a day, that's given them a better opportunity. And that's like anything in the, hunting and fishing. It's like outdoorsmen will pay whatever it is to have that little edge,
Yeah.
because you
True.
only have so much time to actually do the thing. It's not like we're all single men with no
Yeah.
lives, no wives, no jobs. We have so many commitments. I mean, I'm a big rod and reel fisherman, and also spear fisherman from Southern California.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of spear fishing around the world, and it's like, I'm got married last year, and we're having our first baby girl in November, and now my life is just like, okay, now I have to strategically plan when
Yeah.
I can actually do anything. And my wife is asking me, "What are you doing?" It better not be just this weekend. The fishing's good. I'm gonna leave. It needs to be
Exactly.
planned in the calendar. So
Yeah.
whatever you can do to have that edge, especially with some of these guys spending tens of thousands of dollars to go hunt in some areas. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a wealth of an investment to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good point because yeah, I mean, in Utah there's a Wasatch Front extended unit, so the whole Wasatch Front they extend it till like late November, December from September, and there's a lot of trails that get up the mountain, and so guys will with the bikes they can work till 5, jump on it the trailhead and get up there and get into a good area to hunt, and then get back down quick. And without the bike, you're having to hike 2 or a couple hours up the hill, 3 hours, and then hike back down. And so they might just stay up in there for the weekend. Where now we've got wives or husbands or like we've got a lot of
Yeah.
huntresses that hunt on the bikes, and they love them, and they get out. It's kind of like that little ATV that they can keep in their truck or SUV
Totally.
on a rack and go hit a hunting spot, or go scouting that night real quick, set some trail cams,
It's like
check
a
your
jet ski for hunters, for
yeah,
hunting.
and then
It's like
back
you can
out.
get out, get just by yourself. That's so cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, I never thought about that. I mean, be able to hit it up midweek, after work, get out, get a couple hours in, and see if you can get something. Yeah.
yeah. A lot of riverbank fishers too. On rivers, they'll take the bikes
Yep.
and hit a trail and fish. Then get up
Yep.
further to the next spot, and instead of walking and walking all the way back to their truck, or float, fly fishing in drift boats. They'll put the bike in the drift boat, launch and drift down, and then they can
Wow.
ride back to the truck in their e-bike real quick
Pretty
and
cool.
come back, get the boat, and so it makes for a
Wow.
good successful.
That's awesome. What's your favorite place or species to hunt for?
Obviously in North America, it's elk. I love elk hunting in the rut. September. I mean, this September, I think I'm hitting 4 states: Utah, then to Idaho, Montana, then to Colorado.
Wow.
And so I mean, a rutting elk is really my favorite. And then I've grown to love. There's some friends out in South Africa, the Tallies hunting safaris, that I've hunted the last 3 years. Down there with them, I'll take my family and we'll bow hunt down in South Africa, and it's just amazing how that country and the people down there, and that's my. They're both a toss up right there. Bow hunting in South Africa with the Tallies, or elk hunting in you know up in the western states.
That's so cool. And what's your plan? Like, being in this thing now for what did you say, you know, 8 years?
Yeah, 8 years.
What's your game plan? Where do you see yourself in like another 8 years? Is this something that you guys want to continue to grow? You want to take some chips off the table at some point?
Yeah, I think we're kind of looking right now for a strategic partner to kind of come in and help, maybe figure out where some of our losses are, and help strengthen areas of the company. Maybe take some chips off, but really grow it. I mean, it's my passion. I love it. We'll probably be part of the brand as long as we can in one aspect or another. I think as anybody runs a business, grows a business from scratch, driving the ship for so long, especially when it's your passion, can kind of change your passion a little bit. And so, bringing some people on that know how to drive ships from this point on is probably in the future, but still love to be part of the brand and the aspect of what we do. And just keeping that culture alive with, our team and the Bakcou tribe and our pro tribe, and helping out with a lot of wildlife conservation and e-bike laws, trying to help. We work with legislation in different states all over, trying to help, clear up the gray area and not just blanket ban a lot of the e-bikes, and help monitor them, because, there is some high-powered e-bikes that don't need to be on trails, but then there is, class ones or class twos that should be able to access mountain bike trails, or areas that is public lands. And a lot of our customers are 60, 70 years old that still want to get out and hunt and get back into those areas and get away from people, and that's what these bikes allow them to do. So
Yeah, that you bring up an interesting point on regulations. Like, I feel like, at least maybe this is the silo that I'm in Southern California, but it seems like a lot of the challenges with e-bikes, at least that we have around here, come to teenagers.
exactly,
Right?
yeah.
It's like, what's happening with this legislation? Is it maybe changing the age or making them get a motorcycle license? Like, what do you think's going to happen in this space with, because literally these teenagers, I mean, like 13 to 16 years old, it's like biker gangs taking over streets all over Southern California.
Yeah. Well, and probably those are all class 4 unrestricted bikes that legally they're not supposed to ride without
Yeah.
a license. So they're already breaking the law. And the thing too is they ride them like there's no laws for them, right? They go on the sidewalk, they go in the road, they run through red lights, they're riding through the parks, they're going wherever they want to go. And there is laws for that already that they're not, regulating or not, you know, listening to. And so I think it's trying to help navigate educating the people, first of all, teaching them to respect the laws, so we don't, because that's kind of what happened is they see this going on and we're just going to outlaw electric bikes, right? And we need to just basically teach them to obey the law and know the laws.
Totally.
Say, hey, if you're 16 and under, you can't ride those class 4 bikes, and ticket them, or impound them. Their parents have to come pay to get them out, right? And they're like, all right, you're not riding this out anymore on the roads. And yeah, it's, and then they ride those high powered bikes on bike trails where they're not supposed to be on bike trails because they're not a bike. They're, so they're, a lot of the laws that we're kind of passing, especially in Utah and a lot of the states around us, is the class 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so we're pushing right now pretty much across the board. Class 1 is considered a bicycle. So if your bike is class 1, you can ride on bicycle trails. If you're class 2, it's kind of iffy. That just gives you the throttle, but it still maxes you out at 18 miles an hour. You can go faster than that, but it's just human power past 18. And then class 3 is 28 miles an hour, and then class 4 is unrestricted. And you should need a license and have the bike registered at that point.
For sure. Where do you see this, this category of like electric dirt bikes going in the future with what you guys are doing with the motorcycles?
I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think it's I think with the technology now that it's rapidly evolving with batteries, having more energy in them, more, capacity, motors getting a much more efficient, that you're going to see a lot more of them. I mean, electric is, easier to recharge. I mean, obviously there's pros and cons to everything with the power grids and different things, but for commuting or, I think it's every day I'm seeing just more and more electric motorcycle technology coming out. So I think it's here to stay and going to be kind of the new, kind of how the e-bikes happened, like say 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's going to be the electric motorcycle kind of surge.
Yeah, it's crazy to even think where, like let's say the sport of motocross is going too, because those bikes can go faster
Yeah.
than a motorized 450.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to just see how this technology is now being transitioning a whole industry and is making it way more affordable, way easier to maintain, and
Yeah.
way easier to approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Where do you? Last question for you before we wrap up. Like as a brand, is there anything else that you guys are focused on into the short term future? Is it just doubling down on what's working now and servicing the hunting and outdoor industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Bakcou, kind of our lifestyle brand, I mean, we're kind of, obviously doubling down on our Bakcou Moto, and we spent the last few years redeveloping our e-bike line to our new SD models, and they're all coming out now. Now we're launching the motorcycles, and we're really focused on anything lifestyle type products that can help people, you know, on their biking journeys. The Bakcou means backcountry, and kind of wherever you find your backcountry, right? If it's the beach, if it's the urban cities, if it's, the backwoods of Georgia or the high, Rocky Mountains backcountry, everybody has that backcountry that they can escape to, and that's kind of the meaning of Bakcou. And so I think, we're just kind of, that's our brand and kind of what we're focused on, and, staying that kind of elite off-road heavy-duty bikes is the path for Bakcou and kind of what we're focused. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, you've done an incredible job, and I think you guys have a really prosperous future ahead of you. It's
Thank
exciting
you.
to get to learn a little bit more. And for anyone that's interested in learning more about Bakcou bikes, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just bakcou.com. That's our main website. We've got our dealer locator on there to find dealers, across the country and through Canada. And yeah, we'd love to, we got tons on their YouTube channel, Bakcou Life. And yeah, there's our Bakcou Life at Instagram is just at Bakcou Life. That's kind of like our brand, right? Life, Bakcou lifestyle. So,
That's awesome. Well, thanks, David. Thanks so much for sharing your story and coming on today. And I'm really excited that we could connect.
yeah, you bet. Appreciate having me on, and look forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, David.
You bet.